Doctor of the species had always believed she understood the universe. She understood biology, she understood logic, and she understood every rule written for medical officers in the Galactic research fleet. But the one thing she did not understand, no matter how much she observed, was humans. Especially one human. Captain Hayes. He was the only person who could make her heart feel unsteady. She didn't know why his smile felt warm, or why his laugh made her chest tighten in a way no medical exam could explain. Even after 7 years of studying human physiology, she still could not understand her own reaction to him. That evening, the station was unusually quiet after a long rescue mission. The halls were dim, the air smelled faintly of metal and new repairs, and the stars outside glowed like distant fires. Most of the crew had gone to rest, but one light remained on in the hangar. Was sitting on his small human hoverbike, wiping off dust from the mission's surface. The machine rested between his legs, supported by a small stand. The lights reflected off the polished metal, and the soft hum of the bike filled the empty space. Watched him from a distance for a moment, her silver eyes softened. She had seen humans fight, cry, laugh, and break, but she never understood why he was different. Maybe it was his calm nature during chaos. Maybe it was the way he talked to her without fear or hesitation. Maybe it was the way he treated her like a person, not a strange alien scientist. Her steps were quiet as she approached him, didn't notice her until she was close enough to cast a faint blue glow over the bike. "Oh, doctor," he said with a quick smile, "didn't see you there." She felt a strange flutter inside her chest. She blamed it on her species' unique nervous system, but deep down she knew it was something else, something human. She said softly, "I have a question." He put down the cleaning cloth. "Sounds serious." "It is," she replied, though her voice trembled slightly. Noticed his smile softened. "What do you need?" Looked at the hoverbike. She had studied its structure, read every technical document, and even taken it apart once during a training exercise, but she had never ridden one. Humans shared emotions through experience, not just knowledge. She wanted to understand that. She needed to understand him. "Human," she said carefully, choosing each word. "May I try that thing between your legs?" Froze. Blinked, confused at his expression. His face flushed red, his mouth opened and closed twice, and his hand twitched like he had been hit with mild electrical shock. He said slowly, "what exactly do you mean?" She pointed at the bike. "That human machine, the one you ride." Let out a breath so heavy it almost echoed. She didn't understand why he laughed next, holding his forehead like he had survived a disaster. "Oh, thank God," he murmured. "You meant the hoverbike." "Of course," she replied, tilting her head. "What else would I mean?" Shook his head quickly. "Nothing, nothing at all." Looked at the hoverbike once more. Her voice became quiet, almost shy. "I want to understand your machines. I want to feel what you feel when you ride it. I want to share something important to you." His laughter faded. He looked at her with surprise, then with something warmer. "You want me to teach you?" he asked. "Yes," she whispered, "if you allow it." He stood, brushing off dust. The gentle smile returning to his face felt like sunlight breaking through cold clouds. "Yeah," he said softly, "I'll teach you. Come here." She stepped closer. Her fingertips brushed the handle of the bike, and for some reason her heart beat faster. She didn't know why a simple human machine made her feel nervous. She didn't know why standing this close to made her feel warm, safe, and frightened all at once. She only knew she wanted this moment. Placed his hand carefully over hers, guiding her fingers to the controls. The warmth of his hand made her breath catch. "Don't be scared," he said. "I'm right here." Looked at him, her eyes shining with something she could not name. "I know," she whispered. In that quiet hangar, under the soft hum of the hoverbike and the distant light of 1,000 stars, something small but powerful began to change inside her. And for the first time in her careful, logical life, Dr. Felt Hope had never felt nervous like this before. She had performed surgeries under emergency lights, examined alien specimens with unpredictable biology, and faced situations where failure meant death, but nothing made her pulse quicken like standing behind a human who smiled at her with trust and patience. guided her to the hoverbike again. Okay, first you just need to hold the grips and balance, he said, his tone gentle but encouraging. I'll stay close, don't worry about falling, you're safe. Nodded, her hands trembled slightly as she reached for the handles. She had studied machines for years, yet feeling one under her fingertips was completely different. It was heavier than she expected, yet light in the way humans called perfectly balanced. Like this, she asked, placing her hands on the controls. Yes, but relax your shoulders. Don't hold too tight. Let the bike respond to you, instructed. His voice was calm, smooth, and full of warmth. She inhaled, trying to mimic his relaxed posture, but her long alien limbs didn't bend naturally the way a human did. She wobbled slightly and her foot slipped off the stabilizer. His hand shot forward and steadied her. Easy, he whispered, got you. Their eyes met, silver and brown, alien and human, both wide with sudden closeness. The moment felt electric, felt heat rising to her cheeks, but she didn't move away. Something inside her whispered that she didn't want to. You're doing fine, said softly, and somehow those words made her chest feel light and heavy all at once. She had heard praise before, technical compliments, polite words of encouragement, but never like this, never with a touch so gentle, so human. Thank you, she murmured. She could barely meet his gaze without her heart racing. I want to do this right. You will, he said, brushing her hands slightly as he adjusted her grip. The small contact sent a ripple of warmth through her body. She realized then that it wasn't just the machine she wanted to understand. It was him, the way he cared, the way he guided, the way he made her feel seen. Activated the bike's soft hover engines. A quiet hum filled the hangar. The bike rose an inch from the ground, enough to make stomach flutter. It's okay, he said. Just focus on balance, don't think too much. She nodded, inhaling sharply. The first motion made her wobble slightly, but steady hand on her back corrected her posture. His closeness was unnerving, thrilling, comforting all at the same time. It feels, whispered, almost afraid to finish her thought, free. Smiled behind her. Exactly, that's what I feel when I ride it too. For a moment the hangar disappeared. The only thing that existed was the slight hum of the bike, the soft glow of lights, and the warmth of his presence. Leaned forward slightly, focusing on the controls, but also aware of every small movement he made behind her. You don't have to be perfect, said softly, his voice almost a caress. I want to be, she admitted quietly. Her words trembled with something deeper than determination, especially around you. His breath caught, she could feel it on the back of her neck. She turned slightly, unsure why, and their faces almost brushed. He looked at her, eyes soft but intense. You're already doing more than fine, he whispered. Swallowed, her heart hammered. For a moment she forgot the instructions, the balance, the technical purpose of the ride. It was just her and him, and something unspoken passing between them, something fragile and thrilling, yet safe. They stayed like that for minutes, until finally she felt confident enough to hover the bike on her own, small wobbles corrected by her instinct and his silent presence. She laughed lightly when she managed a smooth turn. Laughed with her, a sound that wrapped around her chest like warmth. See, you're a natural. Her silver eyes shone. I feel it, I really feel it. You feel it because you trusted yourself, and me, he said softly. Realized then that this lesson wasn't about hoverbikes. It was about connection, about understanding someone by stepping into their world, about letting someone guide you gently while still holding your own strength. And she wanted more. She wanted to understand humans, not just their machines, but their hearts. As the stars outside the hangar shimmered, leaned back slightly, feeling the hum of the bike beneath her and the warmth of behind her. For the first time, she understood why humans felt so alive in the simplest of experiences. And for the first time, she understood why she couldn't stop thinking about this human. The next morning, the hangar was bathed in soft sunlight filtering through the station's wide windows. The stars outside were fading, replaced by the pale glow of the nearby planet. Had barely slept, her mind replaying the lesson from the night before. The hum of the hoverbike still lingered in her memory, along with the warmth of his presence. She had not realized how much she longed for it until now. Arrived quietly, his usual calm demeanor softened by a hint of anticipation. He smiled at her, a small curve that made her heart stutter. Ready for the real ride? He asked. took a deep breath, her silver eyes flicked toward the open bay beyond the hangar. The platform extended out into the open air, and the thin atmosphere made the stars seem closer than ever. She nodded. Yes, let's go. He handed her a lightweight helmet. Safety first, of course, but trust me, you'll love this. Her fingers brushed his as she took it, and for a moment she felt an electric shiver run through her. She tried not to think about it, but her chest was too aware of him, too aware of the closeness that had become comfortable yet thrilling. They stepped onto the platform, adjusted the bike's controls, and then gestured for her to climb on. You first, he said, I'll follow closely. Positioned herself, hands gripping the handlebars, feet lightly touching the stabilizers. The hum of the engines beneath her feet vibrated through her body, and for a moment she froze, overwhelmed by the sensation. Just breathe, said softly from behind. Feel the bike, not the fear. She did, slowly, cautiously. She pushed the throttle forward. The bike lifted smoothly, hovering just above the platform. Her stomach fluttered in an unfamiliar, exciting way. His presence behind her anchored her, and suddenly the fear melted into thrill. It feels like flying, she whispered. Chuckled softly. That's exactly how it feels for me, too. The platform stretched into the open and dared a small turn. The bike responded to her every move, shifting gracefully as though it were an extension of her own body. The wind teased her hair, brushing against her face, and for the first time she felt a sense of freedom she had never known. Not freedom from rules or studies, freedom from expectation. Freedom that belonged entirely to her and this moment. Matched her speed, gliding beside her, his hand occasionally brushing hers when adjusting her posture. Each touch was gentle, reassuring, and sent warmth through her body that no calculation or medical training could explain. You're doing beautifully, he said. Look at you. Glanced at him, his expression was calm, confident, yet soft, and she felt a rush of emotions she could not name. Gratitude, awe, excitement, and something deeper. She realized then that this ride was not only about understanding a human machine, it was about connecting with the human guiding her, sharing an experience so personal and fleeting that it felt sacred. Her laughter rang out as she completed a smooth turn, and laughed with her, the sound full of genuine joy. The bond they shared in this moment was unlike anything had ever felt with another being, alien or human. She leaned forward slightly, trusting the bike and trusting him. She felt wind on her face, the hum of the hoverbike beneath her, and the presence of someone who cared. In that instant, the world beyond the platform disappeared. There were no duties, no studies, no distant stars that seemed unreachable, only the exhilaration of flight and the quiet thrill of companionship. After several minutes, she slowly brought the bike to a halt, followed, landing smoothly beside her. She removed her helmet, her silver eyes bright with excitement and something else she did not yet fully understand. Did you feel it? He asked softly. Nodded, a shy smile spreading across her face. I did. It's not just the machine, it's everything, the feeling, the freedom, and you. Looked at her, his brown eyes warm and steady. I felt it too, he admitted. And I think I've felt it since the first time you touched the handlebars yesterday. His heart skipped a beat. She had spent years trying to understand humans, and yet one simple, human confession could make her chest ache in ways she had never anticipated. For a moment they simply stood together, bikes humming softly, the wind playing around them, the stars fading into morning light. And in that quiet, realized that what she had wanted all along was not mastery of the machine. It was to share something with this human, to understand him, and to let herself be understood. She took a deep breath, feeling exhilaration and warmth mix in her chest. The ride had given her freedom, but more importantly, it had given her connection. And in that connection, she knew a story was beginning, one that neither star charts nor medical manuals could explain. A story of trust, of courage, and of hearts daring to reach across the void between species. The universe outside the platform seemed vast and endless, but inside felt something she had never felt before. Home, the morning after their ride, felt lighter than she had in years. The memory of flying above the platform, feeling the wind on her face, and the warmth of his presence stayed with her like a comforting hum inside her chest. She returned to her quarters, replaying every detail of the ride, every moment their hands had brushed, every word he had whispered. For the first time, she felt that being human, or at least understanding humans, was not just about observation, study, or logic. It was about feeling, trusting, and letting herself be vulnerable. But the universe, as it always did, had other plans. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts, glanced at the message console and froze. A message from the Central Command fleet blinked urgently. She opened it carefully, reading every line with a racing heart. Her transfer orders had arrived. She was to leave the station immediately for a distant medical fleet, one operating on the far side of the galaxy. Her reassignment was non-negotiable, effective immediately. Her chest tightened, her silver eyes grew wide, shimmering with something she could not hide. She felt an icy chill crawl up her spine. The thought of leaving now, after everything she had experienced with, felt unbearable. She tried to steady her breath. Orders were orders, and she had followed them faithfully her whole life. But this felt different. She had never wanted to stay somewhere, never wanted to cling to a place or a person, until now. Found her in the lab, her hands trembling slightly as she held the transfer document. His brow furrowed in concern the moment he saw her expression. "What happened?" he asked gently, stepping closer. Swallowed, fighting back the sting of emotion. I have been reassigned," she whispered. "Effective immediately. I must leave for a fleet far from here." His expression hardened slightly, a mix of frustration and concern. "Why now, after yesterday, after everything?" "I do not know," she admitted softly, her voice breaking. "It is not my choice, it is the command." He stepped closer, trying to reach her without overwhelming her. "There has to be a way to delay it, to stay here even a little longer." Shook her head. "I cannot, they have made the decision, and I do not know when I will return, it could be years." A painful silence fell between them. The hum of the lab's equipment, usually comforting, now sounded distant and hollow. Silver eyes lowered to the floor, and his hand hovered in the air, unsure if he should reach for her. I do not want to lose you," he said quietly, almost a whisper. Her heart ached. For years she had maintained a perfect barrier between herself and others, trusting logic over feelings. Yet here was a human who had seen her, guided her, and touched her life in ways no command or rule could undo. She wanted to stay. She wanted to explain everything, to tell him how much this connection meant, but orders were orders. "I never expected to find something worth staying for," she murmured, her voice trembling. Reached out slowly, hesitant but determined. He let his hand brush against hers, and she immediately placed her hand in his. It was a fragile gesture, but it held everything words could not convey: trust, longing, and the pain of knowing they would soon be separated. He looked at her, brown eyes intense yet tender. "You'll come back, won't you?" Shook her head. "I cannot promise, but I will carry this moment, this connection, with me wherever I go." Exhaled, his lips pressing into a thin line as he tried to mask the ache inside him. "Then I will carry it too," he said softly. For a few minutes neither spoke. The hum of the lab, the distant light from the platform, and the memory of the ride yesterday filled the space between them. It was bitter and sweet, a reminder of the freedom they had shared and the separation that now loomed. Finally straightened slightly, she knew she had to face her orders. "I must prepare," she said quietly, before it is too late." Nodded, swallowing hard. He could not bear to say more, not when words felt so fragile. He simply squeezed her hand gently, letting her know, without saying it aloud, that she had changed his life and would always have a place in it. Looked into his eyes, feeling the weight of the moment. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." "You don't need to thank me," said softly. "Just promise me you'll return." She smiled faintly, a mixture of sadness and hope. "I will try, for both of us." As she turned to leave, the lab suddenly felt emptier than the stars outside, colder than the metal walls of the station. But deep inside, both of them knew this was not the end. Somewhere in the vastness of space, the memory of this morning, the ride, the trust, the closeness, would endure. And for now, it was all they could hold on to. The station was quiet that evening, the dim lights casting long shadows across the polished floors. Stood alone near the observation deck, her silver eyes reflecting the stars beyond the glass. The vastness of space always reminded her of her place in the galaxy, small, precise, controlled. But tonight, the enormity of the universe seemed heavier, pressing down on her chest with the weight of what she could not say aloud. Approached silently, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. He stopped a few steps behind her, hands folded loosely, yet tense. He could feel it in the air, the unspoken emotions swirling between them like charged particles waiting to spark. He said gently, "You've been quiet since you received your orders. Are you okay?" She turned slightly, her silver eyes meeting his brown ones. For a moment, she wanted to hide her feelings, to retreat behind her clinical logic, but the vulnerability in his gaze made that impossible. I am struggling, she admitted, her voice soft but firm. Not with the orders, not with the fleet, but with everything else, with you. Stepped closer, unsure if his presence was welcome, yet drawn by the tension and longing he felt in her voice. With me, he asked quietly, almost afraid to hear the answer. Nodded, she inhaled deeply, feeling the hum of her heart echo in her chest. Yes, I do not know how to say this in my language. In my culture, we do not confess our feelings lightly. We show them through actions, study, and care, but I cannot contain it any longer. Her hands shook slightly as she raised them, almost instinctively, and clenched them at her sides. His eyes softened, recognizing the courage it took for her to speak. I care for you, Hayes, she said, her voice trembling. More than I am supposed to, more than I can explain with logic or science. When I am with you, even for a moment, I feel alive. I feel human in a way I never thought possible. Felt a warmth spread through his chest, his own heart skipping beats. She held up a hand, stopping him. Please listen, I wanted you to know, I wanted to confess before I leave. If I do not, I would regret it for the rest of my life. I wanted to share this truth with you, just as I shared the ride, the bike, the experience. It is my way of connecting with you, of being understood by you. His eyes glistened with unspoken emotion. He reached out, his fingers brushing hers, gentle but firm. You don't have to explain it, I understand, and I feel the same. Since the first day you came to the station, I've felt a bond I couldn't ignore. You make me better. You make me want to be braver, to be more than just a captain. I care for you too, more than I ever thought possible. For a moment, the galaxy outside disappeared. The stars, the ships, the endless void all faded into insignificance. There was only this moment, their hearts exposed, their emotions unguarded. His chest swelled with relief, awe, and fear all at once. She had confessed, and he had returned her feelings. I wish, she whispered, almost ashamed of the weakness in her voice, I wish I could stay. I wish the orders were different. I wish I could remain here with you. His hand found hers, intertwining their fingers. We will find a way, he said firmly. Even if the stars pull us apart, we will find a way back to each other. I promise you, you're not alone in this. Tears shimmered in her silver eyes. For an alien accustomed to control and logic, surrendering to emotion was terrifying, but in this moment, it felt like the most human thing she had ever done. I trust you, she whispered, her voice breaking. I trust you with this feeling, with me, with everything I cannot say in words. Smiled softly, leaning slightly closer, careful not to overwhelm her. Then I will hold on to it, and I will hold on to you. They stood together in silence, the station lights casting gentle reflections on the glass behind them. The universe stretched infinitely beyond, but inside they had created a small sanctuary, a space filled with trust, understanding, and the first fragile whispers of love. Drew a shaky breath, feeling lighter and yet heavier at the same time. She had revealed her heart, and in doing so, she had opened a door she did not know she could, and standing beside her had accepted it. For the first time in years, she felt truly free, not free from rules or duty, but free to feel, free to connect, and free to hope. And in the quiet hum of the station, in the soft glow of starlight, both human and alien realized something remarkable. No distance, no order, no duty could erase the bond they had forged. This confession was not the end. It was the beginning of something neither of them had expected, yet both of them would follow no matter where the galaxy took them. The station hangar was unusually quiet that evening. Most of the crew had retired to their quarters, leaving only the soft hum of the hoverbike and the distant rumble of the station's engines. Stood near the platform, her silver eyes reflecting the dim lights and the faint glow of the planet beyond the glass walls. Her heart beat fast, not from fear, but from anticipation. Tonight would be different. Tonight would be their last ride together before she left. Approached quietly, his usual calm demeanor softened by something deeper, an emotion he rarely allowed himself to show. Ready? He asked, his voice low, careful, almost reverent. Nodded, I am ready. She adjusted the helmet on her head, though it was barely necessary. She was more aware of him behind her, more aware of the warmth of his presence than the protective gear or the hoverbike's hum. Then let's go, he said softly. They climbed onto the bike together, positioned herself at the controls, and leaned close behind her, hands lightly resting near hers. The hum of the engines vibrated through the metal platform, a familiar yet thrilling sensation. as the bike lifted off the ground, felt that same flutter she had experienced on their first ride. But now it was stronger, infused with the knowledge of what this ride meant, the fleeting time they had together. Just focus on the moment, whispered. Not the future, not the orders, just this ride and us. Inhaled deeply, feeling the rush of air against her face as the hoverbike glided forward. Her heart felt full, almost painfully so. For a brief, perfect instant, there were no transfers, no distant fleets, no responsibilities, only them, sharing the freedom of the open platform and the quiet intimacy of trust. It feels more real tonight, murmured, her voice barely audible over the hum of the engines. Smiled softly, it's because it's ours, this moment belongs only to us. They rode in silence for a few minutes, the gentle wind brushing against them, the stars twinkling faintly as the planet's light dimmed the sky. Leaned slightly into, feeling the heat of his body behind her. Every small touch, every breath close to her ear made her chest swell with emotion. She wanted to memorize this feeling, to carry it with her across the galaxy. You know, said softly, I wish this didn't have to be our last ride. I wish you could stay. Turned her head slightly, catching his gaze. Her silver eyes glimmered with both sadness and determination. I wish that too, she admitted. But even if I leave, I will carry this moment with me. I will remember it every time I see the stars, every time I feel the wind, every time I ride a hoverbike. His hand brushed hers again, a silent promise. And I will remember you, he said, voice firm. No matter how far you go or how long it takes, I'll be here waiting. The hoverbike soared gently above the platform and for a moment let herself simply feel, without logic, without duty, without fear. She felt alive, she felt human, she felt connected in a way that transcended species and space. Thank you, she whispered, her voice trembling, for teaching me, for trusting me, for everything. His brown eyes softened. You taught me too, he said, about courage, about trust, about letting someone in. You showed me that it's okay to feel deeply, even when the universe is vast and uncertain. The bike slowly descended back to the platform. Their ride ended, but neither moved immediately. They stayed close, hearts still racing, the hum of the engines fading into silence, removed her helmet and did the same, though neither really needed it now. This ride, she began, voice barely above a whisper, I will never forget it. Or you. You won't have to, replied. Not in my heart, not ever. They stood there side by side, the platform stretching out before them, the station quiet around them. The last ride had been more than a lesson or a thrill. It had been a promise of connection, of hope, of love that neither distance nor duty could erase. Finally took a shaky breath. I must go, she said, voice breaking slightly, before the transfer activates. Nodded, his hand brushing hers one last time. Go, but come back, promise me. I will, she said softly, a tear slipping down her cheek. I promise. And with that stepped away, heading toward her quarters and the transport that would take her far from the station, far from him, and far from this moment. Yet deep inside, both of them knew this was not an ending. It was a beginning, a memory strong enough to survive the void between stars. And as the station lights dimmed and the night embraced the platform, they each carried the quiet certainty that some bonds, human or alien, were unbreakable. The transport bay was quiet, the low hum of the engines filling the cavernous space. Silver eyes scanned the sleek lines of the ship that would take her far from the station, far from the small sanctuary they had created together. Her heart ached with every step she took toward the waiting vessel. Every moment since the last ride felt heavier now, the memory of his warmth and the touch of his hand pressed against the emptiness inside her chest. Stood several meters away near the hangar doors, his arms folded loosely but his posture tense. He watched her with quiet intensity, his brown eyes tracking her every movement. For the first time in his life, he felt powerless, not in battle, not against the chaos of space, but against the pull of something he could not control, the human heart. Reached the edge of the bay, she turned slightly, catching his gaze. In that look, she tried to speak everything she felt, fear, longing, hope, and love, but words failed her. She raised her hand, a simple gesture, yet loaded with meaning. Mirrored it, raising his own. Their fingers did not meet, separated by the transparent barrier of the glass walls, but the connection was there, stronger than any physical touch. You'll come back, he whispered, as though saying it aloud could somehow will it to happen. I will, replied softly, her voice carrying over the quiet hum of the engines. I promise. The doors began to close slowly, their metallic groan echoing in the bay. She took a deep breath, trying to imprint this moment into her memory, the curve of his smile, the warmth in his eyes, the steady pulse she had come to trust. She knew she would carry it with her, across countless light years, across endless missions, across every lonely star she would encounter. Swallowed hard, his chest felt tight. He had fought countless battles, faced impossible odds, yet nothing had prepared him for this. The raw ache of leaving someone who had become more than a friend, more than a colleague, someone who had become a part of him. "I will be waiting," he said quietly, more to himself than to her, but she heard it. "No matter the distance, no matter the stars." His eyes shimmered with unshed tears. "And I will return," she said. Her voice was steady, filled with determination and hope, because some connections, some bonds are stronger than distance, stronger than duty, stronger than time. The doors were almost closed now. Took a small step forward, pressing his hand against the glass one last time, mirrored it, their palms aligned through the transparent barrier. The warmth of the gesture spread through them both, comforting and bittersweet. "Remember us," whispered. "Remember this, our rides, our talks, the moments we shared. Remember that you are not alone, even in the furthest reaches of the galaxy." Nodded, her chest tight but her heart full. "I will remember," she replied softly, "and I will carry it with me everywhere I go." The doors sealed completely, separating them physically but not emotionally. Took her place in the transport, the soft vibration of the engines beneath her feet matching the quick rhythm of her heartbeat. She looked out the viewport one last time and saw standing there, silent, steadfast, and unwavering. As the transport lifted off the platform, she felt a strange mixture of sadness and hope. Sadness for the distance, for the separation, for the moments they could not share right now. But hope that this bond, this connection would survive the light years and the uncertainty, that it would grow unbroken until the day they could be together again. Watched the ship ascend, disappearing into the vastness of space. His hand remained pressed against the glass, a silent promise, and deep inside he knew this was not the end. The memory of her courage, her laughter, and her heart would follow him across every mission, every battle, every lonely night. Somewhere in the infinite galaxy, an alien doctor carried the memory of a human who had taught her freedom, trust, and the power of connection. And somewhere, a human captain carried the memory of an alien who had shown him that love, understanding, and hope could exist even in the coldest reaches of space. As the transport disappeared among the stars, the promise lingered unspoken, unbroken, eternal. They were separated by distance, but bound by something far greater: trust, respect, and the unshakable certainty that their hearts would find each other again. And in that quiet, infinite universe, both and realized the same truth. Some bonds were not defined by species, distance, or duty. Some bonds were simply human and enduring beyond the reaches of space.